Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sports Now, the show where we go over and debate the biggest stories in sports. I'm Josh Heller, as always joined by my co-host, Logan Ripley. Logan, how's it going today?
It's going well. We've got a lot of things to get to, and this is a day that Josh has been waiting for.
I've been so eager for this.
He will take up more than a third of the show
That's
by
not
himself,
true. That's
and he
not
will
true.
go on a rant about the trade deadline. 19 on the deadline.
On just deadline day.
Yep. So,
I may bring you in at one point, so don't go.
All right,
don't go to the bathroom or anything.
Ask me some questions if you think I can answer
When
them.
we get to them.
All right.
All right, so we're going to start with trades that happened since 2 shows ago now, before the deadline. First up, the Winnipeg Jets sent forward Andrew Ladd back to Chicago for prospect Marco Dano. That's a nice name. First-round pick and a conditional third-round pick. They would only receive the third-round pick if Chicago wins the Stanley Cup this year.
Those are some terms.
I like conditions. Conditions intrigue me because you can pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
Ladd's a really good player. He's going to help Chicago out a lot, and that's not the only move Chicago made. They also acquired Tomas Fleischmann and Dale Weiss from the Montreal Canadiens for forward Philip Deneau and a second-round pick, further improving their depth. Again, as always, they look like the Stanley Cup favorite, obviously. A really good team. Toronto Maple Leafs continue their rebuild, trading James Reimer and Jeremy Morin to San Jose for goaltender Alex Stalock, Ben Smith, and a fourth-round pick, which would become a third if San Jose makes the Stanley Cup Finals. The Leafs are rebuilding. Reimer's contract was up at the end of the season, just made sense on all sides. Edmonton Oilers shipped out troublesome defenseman Justin Schultz to Pittsburgh for a third-round pick. Troublesome is in the fact that he can't really play defense. He's good,
Which is needed in a lot of sports.
especially if you're a defenseman.
He can't play wing.
No, not really. He's good at the offense. Maybe he'll turn it on in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh in desperate need of some defensive help. Florida made some really big moves. First, acquiring forward Yuri Hudler from the Calgary Flames for a second and a fourth round pick. And Edmonton sends Teddy Purcell to Florida for a third-round pick as well. So Florida up towards the top in the Eastern Conference,
All right.
and getting Hudler and Purcell really helps their chances.
So you're saying when we go on vacation this coming week and I'm going to Florida, I should
go watch the Panthers. If there's a Panthers Lightning game, that's even better.
I'm closer to Tampa.
Are you closer to Tampa or Sunrise?
Where's Sunrise?
I don't know.
Is that on the?
I'm gonna guess you're closer.
I'm
to
on
Tampa.
the Gulf side, so I'm.
I don't know.
I'm like an hour and 20 minutes away from Tampa.
But
so.
I would recommend going to one of those 2 hockey games.
I'd
for sure.
actually like to go to a Tampa Bay Lightning game.
Yeah,
that would be good.
It looks like a fun atmosphere. I mean, I'm a Rangers fan, so I don't really like them.
You hear that, Dad? I want to go.
Smaller move. Now, these are not all the moves. I left out a lot of the minor league moves. This is a bit on the lower end. Edmonton Oilers sent minor league goaltender Anders Nilsson to the St. Louis Blues for prospect goalie Nicklas Lundstrom and a fifth-round pick. Arizona claimed Yuri Satach off of waivers from Chicago. Satach looking to find a permanent place in Arizona as he's bounced around a lot. Leafs, again, continuing the rebuild, sending Daniel Winnick and a fifth-round pick to Washington for Brooks Light, who was waived a couple days earlier. Defensive prospect Connor Carrick, who, since that trade is made, has already made his NHL debut, and a second-round pick. The big one, the Carolina Hurricanes traded captain Eric Stahl to my New York Rangers for 2 second-round picks and Alexi Sorella. Okay, quick tangent here. Eric Stahl, good player.
All right.
2 seconds, don't really care. I'm fine with giving up 2 seconds. I did like Alexi Sorella, though. But I think that'll be a good pick. A good pickup. I think he played pretty well in his first game, so we'll have to see where that goes and see if he can further them in the playoffs, because it looks like they're going to need help.
What did he do in his first game again?
In his first game, he didn't have any points, but he played well.
I thought I saw he did.
No, he played pretty well, though. And then a guy I wanted the Rangers to get, Christopher Steed of the Carolina Hurricanes, shipped to Los Angeles for prospect Valentin Zykov and a conditional 5th-round pick. I don't know what the condition
Where's
condition
Zykov
is.
from? Russia?
Not America. I will say that.
Russian spy. Sounds like Ovechkin.
New Jersey sends defenseman Eric Jelena to the Colorado Avalanche for a 3rd-round pick. The Calgary Flames send Chris Russell, known for his blocking shots and, not putting much up offensively or anything like that, a real shutdown guy. He goes from Calgary to Dallas for my favorite name, Yurki Yotipaka. Forward Brett Pollock, 2nd-round pick, and a 2nd-round pick, which would become a first if, here's a nice condition, it's a first if Dallas reaches the Western Conference Final and Russell plays 50% of the games in rounds 1 and 2. So, like I said, you can do pretty much anything with these conditions. Some smaller moves here. John Michael Lyles goes from Carolina to Boston for forward prospect Anthony Kamara, a 3rd and a 5th-round pick. Lee Stempniak always gets dealt at the deadline, going from New Jersey to Boston again for a 2nd and a 4th. Shane Prince goes from Ottawa to the New York Islanders for a 3rd-round pick, surprisingly. David Jones, depth store for Calgary, nothing too major. He goes from Calgary to Minnesota for a 6th-round pick, and goalie Nicklas Backstrom, just getting that salary off the
Backstrom, I've heard of Backstrom.
You're thinking of the other Nicklas Backstrom, the good Nicklas Backstrom.
All right, then.
This one is a goalie. He's had a lot of injury troubles, just dead salary on the books now. Arizona trades Mikkel, or Michael Bodker, however you want to pronounce that. He goes from Arizona to Colorado again, giving up Alex Tanguay, who he may be old, but he can still play. And then prospects Connor Bleakley and Kyle Wood. Buffalo sends Jamie McGinn to Anaheim for a 3rd. And again, here come the conditions. Buffalo would receive a 3rd, but it is a 2nd if Anaheim reaches the Western Conference Final and McGinn plays 50% of the games in rounds 1 and 2. We're seeing a theme with the conditions here. And then Patrick Maroon goes from Anaheim to Edmonton for a 4th, and defensive prospect Martin Gernat. And I can finally breathe around the last one. Brandon Peary sent from the Florida Panthers to the Anaheim Ducks for a 6th-round pick. I want to talk about this one for a second.
Right.
So Brandon Peary, I really wanted him to be a Ranger. He went to RPI, my favorite college hockey team. And in his first season in the NHL, he played in 49 games. Okay, he had 2 assists and 22 goals. So he's a bit of a goal scorer. This season in 52 games, he has 11 goals and 13 assists, so more balanced out.
Now, before you continue, what year was he there? Like 2011?
What's that?
At RPI?
It was a little while ago. He's been in the league for a couple of years. I'm not quite sure.
So I may have watched him.
It's possible. Yeah.
He was when they were good. When RPI was good.
When
and
they were
Union
okay.
wasn't what they are now.
Right, well, they're not good this year, but
last year.
Yeah, last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But Peary's an interesting case. I thought he could have went for a 2nd-round plus. I guess all they could only get a 6th for him because he's currently battling back from an injury. He's still out for a couple more weeks, but I, for one, am surprised that he only fetched a 6th, and if it was the Rangers, I definitely would have wanted them to give up a 6th.
Now, before we switch to another sport, I wanted to kind of figure out, this is a long list.
Yeah.
What's the best trade in this list?
Now, what do you mean by best trade?
By one side, one team just completely got a game-changing player that is going to change their whole front line 1, 2, or 3, either 1. Or 4, that's going to have the most impact for that team, and only contenders, not like young, not like developing teams.
Instead of giving you a trade, I'm going to give you a team. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, so what team what team won the trade deadline?
Florida Panthers.
All right.
The Panthers just gave up draft picks. They're really contending this year. They got Hoodler, they got Purcell, and they shipped out Peary, but that's because there was just no room for him.
Right. With
all the stories they have, they have the ageless wonder Jaromir Jagr, Jonathan Huberdeau, Alexander Barkov, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
They're really contending for a spot. No one really thought they were, and when you have a defense that's backstopped by mainly Aaron Ekblad and a good goalie in net, Roberto Alando, I think they definitely help their team out. And they're going to be a team to watch going forward for me. Before we switch sports, just 3 names that I thought were going to be dealt, and most people did think they were going to be dealt but weren't. That would be Jonathan Drouin of the Tampa Bay Lightning and Dan Hamhuis and Radim Verbata of the Vancouver Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't really follow hockey that much, but have you heard of the Jonathan Drouin situation?
No.
So he wasn't really getting much playing time in the NHL, and him and his agent were talking, and they demanded a trade. This was way back earlier this season. They demanded a trade, and then he wasn't traded right away, so he said he would not continue playing hockey in any capacity for the Tampa Bay Lightning until he was traded. He hasn't been traded, and he still says he doesn't plan on playing this year. So we're going to have to see how that one turns out. Hamhuis and Verbata are on a really bad Canucks team, so I'm really surprised they didn't get dealt, especially with Verbata. And then lastly, today it was announced that with Kyle Turris out indefinitely, the Ottawa Senators signed veteran center Scott Gomez for the rest of the season.
Huh.
And with that, I'm going to take a long breath.
I'll get mine ready. Over to the NBA. T-Wolves reached buyout with Kevin Martin, as we talked about a little bit last show, and the Spurs are the front runner. He's good at the point. He's a very good assist man. Spurs are looking for a little depth. They lost a couple people in free agency last year. They're looking to really solidify that number 2 role or 2 seed in the Western Conference. Or they're having, if the Warriors weren't having the season that they're having this year,
Right.
the Spurs would be looked at like they're running away with the season.
Yep.
Now people are just like, oh, they're second best. When really, I think the Spurs they're older. They can't play the minutes that Steph Curry and Iguodala and Draymond Green, Thompson. They can't play all those minutes, all those games. They have sat out this season a couple times, and now I think you're starting to see it wear on players like Curry and Iguodala, seeing as they're out for their next game coming up. Or they're out last night.
Mm-hmm.
They still won by like 3 points in overtime.
I saw the Draymond Green winner. Yeah.
So they're still pretty close to losing when Curry's out. But I think the Spurs Popovich is gonna play it right. Greg Popovich is gonna play it right throughout the season. He's gonna rest them at the right times. Duncan and Parker, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard's gonna be there for the playoffs, and they're gonna make a move. I think they could definitely beat the Warriors.
But do you think they can? You do think they can beat the Warriors?
Yeah, I think
know.
anyone could beat the Warriors. So just
Can the Knicks really? Can the Knicks really beat the Warriors?
The Knicks could beat the Warriors if Carmelo scored 105.
All right, there you go. And that's still iffy. Speaking of the Knicks.
Yeah, speaking of them.
Reports came out that they were interested in Ty Lawson when he was bought out. Now, I'm not sure if they still are or if that interest has faded.
I think it has faded for the most part. I did see an article to where they were not really considering it anymore.
Well,
they need a point guard.
Do you think he's better than Jose Calderon?
Yes.
Okay, me too.
Definitely better.
I think so too. I don't know what he would have asked in terms of salary, so I don't know if that's what held this up, or maybe they looked at the off the court issues like we spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going. I mean, obviously, I don't know what's going on in the Nets front office, but I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by this a little bit as a Knicks fan.
I am. It looks like they're trying to win, yet lose, yet lose, yet win. And they don't really know what they're doing at this point.
Let's talk Knicks again. One last thing.
All right.
The Knicks aren't going to sign Jimmer Fredette to win a second 10-year contract. Oh,
he hit
one shot.
Yeah. So he played two games. I think it was a total of 6 minutes.
Yep.
He was 1 for 1 with a 3 and 4 of 5 on free throws. And Jimmer will leave the Knicks with the highest effective field goal percentage in franchise history.
Yes.
There was John Schumann. I don't know if you've heard of him before. I have not.
There was an in memoriam highlight video going around on Twitter of his time with the Knits. It was incredible.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. It was a short stint, I do too. But it was a record-setting stint. So.
Yeah.
We'll move on to another story. Baron Davis.
Yeah.
The guy that used to electrify Warriors fans.
Yep.
He's gone for a little bit. I think he went to China for a little bit.
He probably did, yeah.
and sources say that he is expected to sign with the 76ers D-League affiliate.
Can I just say he would probably make the 76ers pro team?
Yeah, he probably would. But I'm sure he's older and just wants to play a little bit and make some money. He's 36 years old, two-time All-Star. 13
He's
NBA
only
season.
36?
Yeah, well, he's had some knee injuries.
I thought he was like
At
40.
one point, he was amazing in the
Yeah,
NBA.
I remember that, yeah.
Like, when Chris Paul was younger, Baron Davis was the guy.
Yep.
1999 draft, 2012 NBA playoffs, Davis emerged as a starter for the Knicks before suffering complete tears of ACL, MCL, patellar tendon in his right knee. He's been out of the NBA ever since, so that's a while. That's 4 years, so I guess he's feeling like he's ready for another comeback. He's expected to play in Friday's home game against Iowa for Delaware, which is what we said, the affiliate.
Yeah.
He averaged 16.1 points, 7.2 assists, and 3.8 rebounds while playing for Charlotte, New Orleans, Golden State, and the Clippers, Cleveland, New York Knicks.
That's a lot of teams.
Yeah, 16 points, 7.2 assists, and 3.8 rebounds is pretty good for a guy who's been injured most of his career. So
right.
Who knows what he'll do? Maybe he'll be there. Maybe he'll move up through the ranks and he'll get into the 76ers, I don't know, bench squad. And when Ben Simmons is there, maybe he'll coach him up a little bit.
Yeah, right.
He might be the next coach of the 76ers. Who knows?
Yeah. One last thing with the NBA. Timberwolves head coach Sam Mitchell said that veteran forward Kevin Garnett may be done for the season. Garnett, I'm pretty sure he just hit 40. Oh, I know. I'll hug you. I'll hug you later. But yeah, so that's not really good news for the old veteran. Wouldn't be surprised if this is his last season.
I'd love to see him come back to the Celtics and retire.
It'd be
as
a nice
Celtic.
send-off.
I don't think he'll retire as a Celtic, though. You know, he played with the Timberwolves for so long.
Right, exactly.
And those were his best years, but 2008, baby. Boston Celtics. Yep. He'll never forget that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I had my hockey hour, and now we're going to shift to Yankees hour.
Yeah, Yankees hour.
Yeah, as Aroldis Chapman, suspension came down yesterday from the league, suspended 30 games. Now, if you remember me talking on this show before, there was a certain number of games where the year does not count under service time for him, and the Yankees would get a free year on the contract.
Which is what I've been hoping for the whole time, because I knew he was going to be suspended.
Right, and so I found out that the number for the time not to count would have been 40 games, at least 40 games.
Yep.
So this year will count under contract. Chapman will not appeal, and this basically keeps him out until, I believe, May 9th.
And I think he would have appealed if it hit 40.
I don't know if he would have.
I don't know. I feel like
he wants the big money in the offseason from free agency,
so
obviously.
I think he might have appealed to try to get it down under that 40 mark. If it was above 40 or above, I think it would have been a great deal. I mean, 30 games, 40 games, what's the difference? Mm-hmm. The only difference is his contract, and if we're going to have him under the same contract next season, the way it worked out, we are not going to. And
well, I mean, let's establish this right now. He's not missing, he's missing time, but we don't get the free contract year, right?
Right.
He's not coming back to the Yankees next season. You do know that, right?
I don't think he is. No.
Okay, all right. So
I think he is just, this is a platform, Yankee Stadium, and he's going to try to use it to the fullest to try to get other buyers, such as like the Dodgers and teams
all the
like
big,
that.
Other big money teams.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not really a big money team anymore.
No.
But if he does well enough, and I think Cashman understands that. Maybe he thinks, we have a good team this year, and he really thinks with the bullpen we can really run some games together.
Yeah, I was watching the spring training game earlier. They were interviewing him, and he said the price was just too good to pass up. They knew he was going to be suspended.
So,
the question was just how long, and now they have that
and
answer.
Maybe you'd get a 2-for-1 deal, which I don't think it was a bad move. The people that we lost were not...
Jadilo and Davis were the only ones.
They weren't game-changing prospects for
not
us.
At all. Jadilo was always injured. Ricky Davis
We're always looking to get a pitcher, and bullpen or not, so...
Right.
Either way, good move by Cashman, and I think he should be GM of the year every year.
Okay.
From what the Yankees organization was like until now, I don't think I'd rather be doing things the way he's been doing them rather than buying every single player.
I think Theo Epstein.
Which the Red Sox are about to go start doing.
Theo Epstein, though. He spent, 2 years in Chicago? He's already turned them around to really young, powerful World Series contending team. I think
He left in
deserves it.
2011, didn't he?
It was 11 or 12. I don't remember.
13, 14, 15. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not doing math. We taught sports.
Yeah, exactly. All right, talking sports, we'll move on to a guy I think should be in the MLB soon, but Cashman doesn't think the same. Brian Cashman says Aaron Judge should spend full season in AAA.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, last season he did really well in AA Trenton.
Yep.
Then he got promoted about half the season he spent there. Then he got promoted to AAA Scranton-Wilkes-Barre, and he did okay. He didn't really do that great. He kind of struggled a little bit. I think they're polishing him for after this season when Beltran's contract is up. They're polishing him, obviously, to be the Nets starting right fielder. I was watching the spring training game earlier. He's just a tower out there. The man is huge.
Right. I read this thing where they said it's Gronkowski and as a baseball player.
Yeah, right, exactly. I don't see a problem with this. Unless Beltran goes down, there's no reason why they should bring him up. Even if he does go down, call up Slade Heathcott or something. Don't expose him too early. That's always my policy. But even when it comes to hockey and stuff like that, keep them where they're comfortable. Don't put them out of their comfort zone. Push them when they're ready.
I feel like Bird is this is like Bird a year later. That's why I don't understand why they wouldn't give him the opportunity to come up. If this is what he's been working for. I think he's got the build to hit in the MLB.
This situation's
We've
different,
seen this
though.
in spring training.
Oh, I know
though.
that. Yeah. This situation's different though because with Bird, there was Teixeira was hurt, and they needed a first baseman. Garrett Jones wasn't good,
right,
to be honest. So if you looked in the minors, there was him, there was Bird, there was like Kyle Roller, who I'm pretty sure he's in Korea or China now. But with Judge, you got Beltran, you got Aaron Hitz, you got Slade Heathcott, you got Mason Williams if he ever comes back from his shoulder surgery. So there's no reason to push him up right now. And then you got Ben Gamel, who was playing in the spring training game earlier.
Right.
There was no reason to have.
We have a very high amount of
we
young
have good
prospects
depth.
in the outfield.
Yeah,
as we saw last season, they played a lot. Mason Williams was really good in the outfield.
Ramon Flores was even okay before he got traded.
Yeah, so I like some reason Slade Heathcott could hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Mason
he
Williams
could field too.
Yeah, but Mason Williams was really good in the field.
He
made
was
some stellar catches out there, and I really like that. It reminded me of Bernie Williams a little bit. So
yep. But I don't see a problem with Cashman saying Judge is going to spend a full season down there.
I mean, if the season's gone, why not?
And if injuries come about, and we see Aaron Judge wearing that number 99, hopefully.
Yeah, the biggest number and the biggest guy.
Yeah, that's right.
On to Cuban national team. Plays the Rays?
Yeah, March 22nd, it was announced that the Rays are going to play the Cuban national team. I mean, Cuba just lost to Gurriel brothers, but it'll be a good game.
I think the Rays are about to get smacked.
Oh, well, yeah, I think so too. But it's been so long. I'm pretty sure it's been a really long time since Cuba has played against us in any capacity. We kind of just patched up that little relationship.
Right, so if they get people, like we talked about this before, are they going to get people from the MLB to come back and play for them for this intermatch?
I don't know.
I don't think it will happen.
So. I don't think teams want to risk injury in that
right,
case.
So I think it's just going to be like the Rays people, probably some younger guys versus the Cuban national team, but I think the Cuban national team is going to be really good. And I think you're going to see a few prospects that are playing for their team. The scouts are going to be able to see them up close finally. And I know they've been able to do this for the last couple months going down there because of the situation with Cuba until Obama has rejoined this alliance. And Obama will be at the game. President Obama will be at the game for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's in there. Is it in their main city? I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure either.
But yeah, that'll be interesting. Hopefully it's televised.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will be.
It. I would watch it.
Cuba is so interesting because since our whole breakup with Alliance after the missile crisis, it's like Cuba stopped in time. CBS did some cool interviews there, and how the cars they're running off lawnmower engines and stuff because they don't get the parts in to fix them, and all the cars are from 1960 and things like that. So it's definitely interesting. Hopefully, I think it'll be a good alliance, seeing as I've come to better terms, especially for sports, and it just creates sports. So it creates a whole nother atmosphere, a whole nother thing. And I think the baseball players are happy that they're finally having their hometown support them. Puig should have waited another year. He wouldn't have to go across the ocean or the Gulf in a boat.
Right. So 3 things here. First of all, the Yankees tied it up at 7.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, Yankees are currently playing who are
Detroit.
they playing Detroit.
Mike Pelfrey started.
7-7 in the.
I don't know what inning it is.
All right. 7-7
All I know
in the
is that it's
7.
7-7. I would hope
7-7.
So 2 other things just happening. The 49ers signed the running back from last season, Sean Drawn, for a 1-year deal. He had come in Carlos Hyde's absence and played pretty well.
All right.
So he's back. And some sad news as Thunder part owner Aubrey McClendon was killed in a car crash this morning.
Yep. I just saw that, actually.
Yes. Yep. So back to Major League Baseball. I didn't actually read the full article, but I did see that Major League Baseball has proposed a plan to allow Major League Baseball teams to sign players directly out of Cuba.
Right, yep. And that's what I was referring to with the whole Puig situation.
Yeah, and with Gurriel, yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't have to, what's the word?
Defect?
Yeah, defect from Cuba just to be able to play in the greatest baseball league in the world. So
right.
That's
Korea, my friend. No, I'm just kidding.
That's going to be such a great – the league's going to get so much better,
Yeah,
it's
fun to watch now.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think –
they're making a lot of changes. That with the time rules and all that.
Right. I think it's for the better.
Yep.
Colton Wong.
Yes.
Gets extension 5-year, $25.5 million.
Yeah. That was an announcement made at just before noon today from the Cardinals. Wong's been very good at second base for the Cardinals. Another one of their young prospects that they have as they continue to contend as they do pretty much every season. With that, we move to the NFL. Last show we talked about the Jets were franchise tagging Muhammad Wilkerson. Well, reports have come out now that they are open to trading him. What do you got on that?
I don't think it's gonna happen. It'd have to be in the season. It'd have to be like if they're desperate for one need. They're pretty set with the quarterback. They could go a little bit more on defense in the corner position because Cromartie just was let go because he's older.
Yeah. They
do have Skrine, who's like really good, though. I think he's going to be really good, and he's going to play that second cornerback position behind Revis.
Yep.
Wilkerson, they just have an abundance of great linemen, defensive linemen, and I think they're looking at, well, can we trade one of them away and get more on the offensive side of the ball? And can we still have that great impact on the front line and in the trenches? Could be a risk. He's a great player, and I guess we'll see more. There hasn't been a lot out about him. He's their best defensive player, I think.
You said that last show, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. You could see them trade someone else, maybe. Who knows what they're doing either. They have a great coach, and I think they just need to rely on him. And I don't think he'll want to trade him. He's just like Mike Zimmer, the Vikings. He's a defensive coach, and I don't think they're going to trade away their best defensive player.
Yep. 2 extensions came out of the NFL today. We'll do the smaller one first. Mason Crosby extended by the Green Bay Packers 4 years, $4 million per season for that extension.
He's a killer.
Yeah,
I know
he had a pretty good season.
He has a great season every year.
Except for that, there was that 1 year where he couldn't make a field goal.
Yeah.
And then he picked it back up.
Yep.
Now the bigger one, the Baltimore Ravens extended quarterback Joe Flacco through 2021. Terms are unknown at this point in terms of finances.
They needed that. I mean, the Ravens struggled this year, but also Joe Flacco had been hurt. Well, he was hurt. He wasn't having that great of a year before he was hurt, though.
But, I mean, when you replace him with Jimmy Clausen. So.
Well, who was the guy that came in at the end? He used to be on the Patriots. Backup Brady.
Mallet?
Yeah, Mallet moved around.
I thought he went to Houston.
No, he had a great game with he got released by Houston.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because they signed T.J. Yates again. Last time
because why not?
Last time they had a hurt quarterback and they made the playoffs. TJ had started from. He started again.
Yeah.
Well,
go back to what worked.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Flacco, of course, he's a great quarterback. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl MVP.
He's not elite though. I don't think
That's
just always made on Twitter.
The question.
Yeah,
I think as
I don't
long
think
as
he's
he
elite.
keeps developing his mind.
Well, he's not young. How old is he? He's got to be like 32, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't really know, but
I don't think he's older than 32.
no.
He's definitely an interesting guy because he's got the build of Ben Roethlisberger. He's got that arm. He just hasn't.
He's not as mobile, but
he's not as mobile, but he just hasn't put the mind aspect that all the elite quarterbacks have, like Brady and Roethlisberger and Peyton. And Peyton can't even throw a ball anymore, and he's still gonna beat you. It looks like beat the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
So
yeah, with a whopping 150 yards.
Yeah. So I think it just values the side of the quarterback that can actually read defenses.
Yep, but that was I agree with you. It was a good extension for Baltimore and just one that they had to make there.
Yeah.
Logan, do you have anything else to add today?
I do have a little bit.
Oh, you do? Okay.
A little golf news.
Oh, here we go.
A little golf news to end the show.
Go ahead.
Rory McIlroy is changing his putting style. I know a lot of people that are listening to our show, and maybe even you, would be like, oh, I don't know. But he is ranked 189th in putting, and that's his only setback. He will switch to cross-handed grip, which is almost reversing. So if you're a righty, when you're putting the ball, your left hand's on top.
Oh, okay.
He's going to switch it to have the right hand on top, and Jordan Spieth does this.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of players that do this. And
I think I do it, yeah.
Also, it's reported that that Tiger, Jason Day reached out to Tiger, and they are talking the mental aspect of golf and how Tiger had that killer instinct for all those years.
Right.
On another note with Tiger, he doesn't know his timetable yet. He has been chipping and putting and hitting 9 irons. So we hope to have him back soon.
And then there was that video going around Twitter.
Yeah, about how he's
him
swinging.
hitting indoor.
Because people have said, he's never going to play again. I think he's just finally taking it slow. Every time he's come back.
As he should.
Yeah, every time he's come back, he's been rushing himself, and finally he knows that, hey, I can play this game competitively at the age of 45. Why do I want to tear my body apart in my 30s and get back to that very athletic standard when I can slow my swing down and play Ernie Els golf? Ernie Els is still a very competitive player on the tour, and he is in his 50s or approaching his 50s. So you've seen it. Tom Watson almost won the British Open like 5 years ago, and he's like 67 at that point. So anything can happen in golf, and I think it's about adapting like many other sports, and I think he'll figure it out.
I think he will too, and I kind of hope he does. I do miss the game of golf without him. Is that all you got?
That is all I have.
All right. Thanks for tuning in today. Make sure to follow our show on Twitter at RSR Sports Now. You can follow my personal account at Josh Heller20.
Follow mine at lowercase LOGAN _ RIPLEY.
You can now find our archive shows on YouTube. We ran out of space on SoundCloud.
Yep, SoundCloud, they want our money, but we're not going to give it to them. We're going to take the free YouTube page, so you'll just see most likely a picture.
It's a logo. I made a couple videos already.
Our radio mic.
Yeah.
And you'll see it there.
Yep.
So where can they find that?
You can search Sports Now on YouTube. Eventually, once we get to 30 days old, we can make a nice URL.
All right, nice.
So
all right, cool.
Yeah.
And we'll post that, and we'll tell you what that is on our Facebook page and all that
Twitter.
good stuff.
Yep. Speaking of Facebook, you can find us on Facebook by searching Sports Now. Thank you for listening to Sports Now on Radio St. Rose. Be sure to tune in next time for all the latest news around the sports world.